Welcome to Garage Takes. If you're new around here, we talk Michigan football, we talk Detroit Lions football on a weekly basis, and we are just wrapping up the Lions and Commanders game. The divisional round did not go how most people were expecting it to, and definitely not how Lions fans wanted it to go. Brant, we talked on the last episode going into this game, or really in the playoffs in general. Was it Super Bowl or bust this season? And if they didn't win the Super Bowl, was the season a failure? I think that's something that you could have debated before this game, but I guess the question kind of shifts, and I'll just pose it to you: is the season a failure or a letdown? I understand there's disappointment, and rightfully so, but was the season a failure? Why or why not?
Dave, I'm going to go with not a failure. I don't think I don't think anytime you achieve the one seed is the season a complete failure. It's embarrassing though, and I think I kept circling back to the word embarrassing instead of failure, which is two different things to me, Dave. This team fell flat on their face last night, and it almost felt like you could feel it coming in the second quarter when all those points got scored. You just thought this is not the Detroit Lions type of game where they want to get into a shootout with a team like the Commanders. It felt like Detroit wanted to run the ball, control the clock, do some of those things, and they just weren't able to at the end of the day. As far as your question, Dave, definitely to me not a failure, but the postseason, this one's going to sting for a while. This one's not going to go away when the draft comes around, when the preseason kicks off. This one's going to hurt until next playoffs, Dave. And I think we circle back to last year with the NFC Championship loss. This one feels completely different. You left that season on a high note. You felt like last year when you lost the NFC Championship game. Losing this game, you feel down in the dumps, and where do we go from here type feeling, Dave.
Look, three things happened in this game to me. Number one, the Commanders and Jane Daniels in particular played absolutely lights out. They played a flawless game. I mean, they deserved to win that game the way they looked, and to be honest, and when I look back on kind of how we were talking about this game going into it, it's like, yeah, the Commanders deserve some respect, man. They have some guys. Shout out Mikey Samers still, by the way. I know it's not fun playing against him, but that was cool to see him have a night. But number one was the Commanders just playing outstanding. Number two is Jared Goff throwing three picks and a fumble. And, you know, when you're down there on the 10-yard line about to score a touchdown and you give up the ball, not good. And so that's not super characteristic of Jared Goff. And I think that's the second time this year we've seen that Jared Goff. The Texans game, they were able to overcome what was it, like 5 interceptions. Well, this wasn't a good time to have your second worst game of the season, obviously, but nobody knows that better than Jared Goff himself. You just can't have it. And then last but not least, I think, and I'm bringing, I know we may disagree on this a bit, but I think that the injuries just finally caught up to them. Not necessarily new injuries, although I know obviously Amik Robertson goes out, broke his arm. It looked like that wasn't good. But if you look at this roster that they've been winning with, mind you, for several weeks now, it's like every game you watch, somebody's going down and getting hurt. They've responded, and they've made it seem like no matter who we lose, no matter what caliber of player, they're just going to keep winning, and they're almost going to get better in a bizarre way. Well, this game we didn't see it, and it was not a good performance. But when I look at the roster of the guys that are actually out there, and I'm not giving this team an easy out here, but I think it's obvious they are decimated and have been decimated, and I think it finally caught up to them, unfortunately, at the wrong time. I think that, you know, you could almost feel last night just the air being sucked out of the city, all of that energy. So super big disappointment, Brant. But I want to know your thoughts on what went wrong, or maybe just a response to what my 3 points are.
No, Dave, I'm fine with the injury thing. I'm like you said though, I'm not going to give this team an excuse. Not against the Commanders, certainly. That's a team that you should beat. Jaden Daniels had a night you have already talked about. Just his ability to be a playmaker. And we talk about Jared Goff having a bad night. Sure, that happened as well. But it felt like Ben Johnson had a game plan and he tried to stick with it. I felt like his game plan was to run the ball, and I feel like it was came at a detriment to this team a little bit. But I think he got caught in between a rock and a hard place between Jared Goff not playing well and him having to run the ball. So I think he kind of was out of answers there. He turns to the trick play with JMO, which Dave, to me, that was pretty much the ball game early in the fourth quarter. When he throws that interception, I mean, people were kind of crapping on JMO for that one, but really, what did you want him to do? He feels like he's got this design play. He feels like we're getting late in this ball game. Sure, he could have tucked it and ran, but he's just trying to make a play. I get where he's coming from in that instance. So I don't really want to get into the injury stuff because everybody has injuries. That's part of the NFL. We get that. I do want to get into the Ben Johnson stuff a little bit though, Dave, and to kind of unpack that because I know a lot of people are going around saying maybe his head wasn't there, maybe he wasn't locked in 100%. Interviewing with the Raiders and Jaguars or whatever it was, and maybe even the Patriots. But Dave, do you think that had some sort of impact on this game specifically?
No, no, I don't. I don't buy into that. I think these are professionals, and not only are they professionals, they're some of the best at their profession. So I don't buy into that. I do think that there was a game plan going into this, and truthfully, I mean, early on, it was like you almost felt like it was going to be a slugfest, and so I think it was working to a certain degree. I think what happened was there was an element of panic on both sides of the ball, and some of that cutesy stuff that works at times when the Lions are rolling during the season. It was almost like wrong place, wrong time, and it just seemed like they hit the panic button and just got out of their element. So yeah, you can fault them to a certain extent for sure, and I understand the criticism, but I don't buy that at all. That somehow Ben Johnson wasn't laser focused in on a game plan here, or Aaron Glenn. Like I said, they're not only professionals, but they're two of the best in their profession. What did you think?
No, Dave, I'm with you 100%. I think that's an easy thing to look at and say, well, he didn't have a great game plan. No, I just don't think his game plan came together because of execution. I think it starts and ends there. I think Ben Johnson, like you said, is top of the mountain when it comes to offensive coordinators. And the other thing that I hate now is I feel like a lot uh, a lot of the word going around now is like, oh well, get on out of here, Ben Johnson. We don't need you anymore. Obviously, you're not part of the organization. I mean, he walks in and tells the team that he's going to be taking a different job and a different role, and to me, that's completely fine. People move up in stations in life. That's the thing that happens, and um, for fans and stuff to be like so upset with him. I think they're just lashing out at this point, which is understandable. Obviously, people are upset, but I think that Ben Johnson had a game plan. Execution failed it a little bit, and then we have this result at the end of the day. However, with him taking on that next role, Dave, I think this leaves Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell in a little bit of a hole where they've got to come together and find the next answer at the offensive coordinator position. Any thoughts with that? I know we're so fresh off of this, Dave, but any thoughts of what you think we could see?
I don't know what we're gonna see. I do know that the coming days will be interesting, and we'll really, we'll start to get a clearer picture of what the offseason is going to look like for the Lions. As Dan Campbell could likely have to replace both of his coordinators, and we will see. I think I will. I guess what I'll say is this, because without having any names in mind, I know there's some internal people as well that are on the Dan Campbell's short list to be considered if these moves happen. But I trust Dan to bring in the right guys, whether they are former players or some up and coming guys. I have to. He's given me no reason to not believe. So that's my 2 cents there. Bring any
It,
last thoughts here?
Yeah, Dave, the last thing I'll leave you with, and I know this sounds crazy, but Dan's done it before. I don't want to see Dan Campbell calling plays. I know that that's something that it did happen in the past in his early in his tenure, but it's just something I don't want to go back down that rabbit hole. The last thing that I will say about this organization, Dave, is this is at a crossroads for this Detroit Lions organization. You've proved it in back-to-back years in regular seasons and in the postseason last year that You have churned off the same old Lions fountain. That thing is shut down. It's not coming back. Um, they need to rebound, Dave. You know what I mean? It is going to be vitally important that they have a good, clean off season, make the right hires, get the right people in the building. If you look at the list of free agents that they have on this list, it's a long one. It really is. That they're going to have a lot of unrestricted free agents, and I know we're going to get into that all in the offseason. I understand that. However, I don't think it's anybody that's on that list that's an extreme make or break season for next year, but it's a lot of glue guys. And it'll be interesting to see how all of this offseason plays out, Dave.
Absolutely. We'll stay tuned in here on Garage Takes each week as we kind of head into the offseason and look at free agents and the draft and who we could be losing and bringing in. If you're new around here to the channel, do us a huge favor. You're a Lions fan, Michigan football fan. Hit that subscribe button. Hop in the comments down below. I know it's tough right now, Lions fans. I know it's the stuff that nobody wants to talk about, but let us know how you're feeling and where your thoughts are in terms of the Lions and this 2024-25 season. We'll catch you all next time.